You either play it or you don't.
Hi! Thank you so much for your patience. I am so sorry for the delay. I felt so bad. I'm like, this girl probably is like, what is wrong with her? So I'm so sorry. Thank you truly for the bottom of my heart.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
How's your day been?
It's been amazing. Thank you for asking me to be a guest on here, and thank you for your patience. I honestly, truly appreciate you for being so kind, because I'm sitting here like I looked kind of unreliable there for quite a bit. So thank you.
I'm really happy that you even said that that we could even have a conversation, you know?
Yeah. Everything is divinely guided. Everything works out the way it's supposed to. So yeah.
I feel like,
I'm excited.
yeah, I get proven that literally like so many times throughout the day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I wrote down 4 things when I was just like listening to some podcasts you've been on and stuff. And I thought it'd be fun just to say the things that kind of caught me. So these are the 4 things that I wrote down. I wrote down black mold.
Black mold, yeah. Oh, yes.
That's wild. Juicy Couture manager, not trying, and 8-year therapy. That's what I wrote.
Wait, what was the last 2 that you said?
Juicy Couture manager, not trying, and 8-year therapy.
Yeah. Yes.
Those are the 4 things. I was like, wow.
Yeah, you definitely did your research, which is awesome. But yeah, that's, it's so funny. I've been interviewed on a lot of podcasts, and I always like wonder, like, do people actually listen to these still nowadays? And it's cool to know that people like actually still listen. So yeah.
Yeah, and they're all awesome.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk about like the mold. Like, how was that for you? Like, that sounds so crazy. Like,
yeah. So the molds for me, it's actually what birthed my spiritual awakening, really. I was living in an apartment in the can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. In the Washington, D.C. metro area. And it was a really, really wild story. So prior to moving to DC, the Northern Virginia, DC area, I was a dancer for 14 years. I had no health issues. I would say the only health issue I really had was like migraines I would get sometimes and scoliosis. That was like really my only health concerns. And then when I moved to DC for college, for undergrad, I lived in an apartment there for 5.5 years. And I experienced so many health issues while living there, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. I mean, I went to over there, I think in the year 2015, I went to over 200 doctor appointments, because I had to pull up. Yeah, I actually had to pull up a whole list of all my doctor appointments I've been to in that year, because I was actually going to sue the apartment, which I ended up not doing because it was just too much and I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. But yeah, so I had lived in this apartment, and after I moved into it, I couldn't figure out why I kept getting sick. I kept getting, it started out with like really, really bad acne, which I never had in my life. Then weight fluctuations, which I never had in my life. Then my hair started falling out really bad. Then I had skin cancer in 2014, which had metastasized, meaning it spread to other places of my body. Then I had breast cancer in 2017. While I'm going through all of this, I was also in a very toxic relationship, which I think played a very significant role in that as well. And I also, I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I started having like really, really crazy brain fog to where I couldn't even form sentences anymore. I couldn't remember anything. I felt really dumb. I felt really slow. My face started to puff up. My lungs actually ended up collapsing, and long story short, to summarize, I ended up getting that apartment remediated twice, paid $12,000 out of pocket to get it remediated twice. The apartment never paid me back for it. And nothing worked. Even after we remediated twice, there was mold that had grown all over my belongings, literally all over my furniture, my shoes, my clothes, my couch, my bed. So I had to get rid of everything. I lost absolutely everything. I walked away from that apartment with just my birth certificate and my license and my credit and debit card, and that was it. And my wallet. Yeah. So I lost everything, and I was 28 at that time. I'm now 31. So that was a very, very, very traumatic event for me, honestly, but it really birthed my spiritual awakening and who I am today. So it was really tough to go through that, very, very difficult. But while I was going through that, I ended up having to live out of a hotel for almost 2 years. It was a lot. I actually ended up moving apartments almost, I think, 11 times in 1 year after that too, due to other mold issues and other apartments I had. It was really wild. Now that's behind me, thankfully,
Wow.
but I realized a lot of it too, because people don't realize that trauma stays in the body, right? And it disconnects you from your body. So at that time, I was so disconnected from my body, from being completely gaslighted, which for the listeners, that means like basically someone's invalidating your truth. I was being completely gaslit by the Western medicine community. They kept telling me it's all in my head, there's nothing wrong with me, da 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 da. And because they don't believe in mold toxicity, they don't believe it's a real thing, they don't believe it can affect people, they don't believe in any of that. They just, want to give you pills and send you on your way. And that's what they did to me for years. And I kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And then I developed all these autoimmune diseases while living in that apartment. And had I stayed on the Western medicine route, I don't think I'd be alive right now. And this isn't any disrespect to Western medicine per se. I think it has its place for like surgeries and stuff, but now I'm very into holistic healing. And I would say 99% of my clientele comes to me with the same exact issues. They'll say, I've had all these health symptoms for years that I can't find answers to, and doctors keep telling me it's in my head, or they keep telling me I'm fine, I'm just depressed, or it's anxiety. And then we end up getting to the root cause of really what's causing their health issues, whether that be molds or heavy metal or diet, or really an emotional aspect to that as well, because it's all connected. Everything is energy, right? We are energetic beings, and everything is energy, literally everything. Like even the chair I'm sitting in right now is energy, money is energy, literally everything. And it's all tied in. So really, I help my clients connect back to themselves and back in their body by helping to find them answers through what comes through in the reading, because I lived through it myself. And I've been through it myself, and it's a horrible thing to go through something like that and to not be believed and to not have anybody listen to you and to go through it on your own. But it did help me develop my abilities that I have today, because I was very isolated after that for a really long time. I had to be, because I developed really severe chemical sensitivities when I was going through that. So I couldn't even be near people. I was basically just in a room alone, and I couldn't work at the time. And so my abilities started coming in really strong during that time, because I had no distractions and I was like all alone with my own thoughts. So and then I ended up at that time, I left my government job with Department of Defense in DC because I hated it. And honestly, I was in no position to keep working at that time. In 2018, I was so sick, I needed to heal. And then during that time, I ended up just knowing things that I had no way of knowing. And people would be like, how do you know that? I'd be like, I don't know. I just heard and saw it, which that would happen to me my whole life. But it became very profound and very strong when I was going through all this mold stuff, because I was very isolated. And I think when you're isolated is when you can hear messages a lot better, really attune into them. And then at first I started out doing it as a hobby, and then I decided to turn it into a full-time business. And now I have clients in 8 different countries. So I know that was quite a long rant there, but my mold story ended up birthing my business, is what I meant to say here. So for the listeners, if you're going through it, just know you can really create something so great out of something so pivotal. So yeah, hope that made sense.
I'm speechless.
I know that was a bit much, right?
You're a survivor. Jeez, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so interesting, because like, I just wonder, has this always been the scenario where like there's humans like you saying like, no one is listening to me, but I'm going to the hospital, like what is told to do if something's wrong? I just wonder, like, has this scenario always been a thing? And it's like, we manifested the hospital and the medicine. Why? Like, I just wonder, why was it manifested? Why is it here? It's just so.
That's a really good question. I actually was talking about this with my last client that I finished with right before I jumped on this recording. We went on a whole spiel about this because her and I, we talk about this stuff a lot too. And I don't know, I don't want to get your podcast like flagged or taken down for saying what I'm about to say,
No,
because of censorship nowadays. But
there's a taste to it, a taste.
a little pinch. You know, honestly, it's all control. It's all for a control tactic, like the medications and all that stuff. Because honestly, we have what we need to heal. The earth and Pachamama, whatever you like to call it, Gaia, whatever you wish to call it, we have everything we need to heal. You know, plants are our medicine. Air and sunshine is our medicine. Connection to other people, you know, like this right here. This is our medicine. But Western medicine tries to disconnect us from that and disconnect us from source and disconnect us from our true healing nature in medicine. So I don't think we need medications. You know, I'm sure other people will beg to differ on that, and that's fine. You know, I think to each his own. I think each health scenario should be dealt with discernment. You know, again, I think Western medicine has its place for surgeries and stuff like that, but why was the medicine manifested? Because there's light and dark to everything in this world, to everything. And in order to know the light, you have to understand the dark very, very well. For me, I understand, I don't work with the dark. I'm very against that, but I understand it very well, if that makes sense, because I've been through a lot of trauma. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I'm a sexual assault survivor. So I've been through the darkness. I went through all those health issues. I've lived through the darkness. I don't ever want to go back there. So there's a lot of light and dark in this world. And we're seeing a lot of polarity right now. We're seeing a lot of, you know, this or that nowadays in society, which is actually disconnecting us further from each other, because we actually need to come together as a society, you know, and actually understand that regardless of how someone feels about something, they're still allowed to stand in their truth, regardless if that's your truth or the truth. They're still allowed to, but it's not our responsibility to be responsible for that, if that makes sense. But we are responsible for standing in our own truth and speaking, you know, our truth for what we feel. But I also think too that there has to be a balance between, you know, good or bad, or, you know, this or that, or, you know, whatever they choose to believe and whatever we choose to believe. Because if there's not a balance, what can happen is it can become a little too extreme, meaning we can become even further disconnected from each other. But to summarize, to answer that question in short, I would have to say, why was it manifested? It's just the darkness coming to light, really. And I think that we have to move through this darkness to get to light collectively and to connect to each other more collectively, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and I can imagine that. That's what I think too. It's very interesting. Like, I wonder, does it, taking back your power, does it also mean to like take responsibility of your own decisions? You know what I mean? Like to make your own decisions. Because I feel like sometimes the society that we're in is like, a lot of the times decisions are made for us from the gate. Like a lot of things are already choreographed and lined up, and then we just show up and then like choose from what's already been laid out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like us not being able to decide what we essentially want to like exist in probably cause like a lot of inner turmoil and like
Definitely.
why it like kind of happened, because we probably just didn't trust ourselves at a certain point, you know? We just got
right.
Like,
yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I love your perspective on that. That's honestly so great. And that's honestly really profound what you just said too, because there are a lot of things that are out of our control. But I think it's important what we can control, which is our decisions. And we all have choice in everything too, right? So everything is a choice, whether it's a subconscious choice or a conscious choice. And whatever we choose to do, or whatever we choose to, I'm trying to think how how to describe this, whatever we choose to do moving forward and how that makes the most sense for us and how we can stand in our truth with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it literally, like, it would be so cool to zoom out and to literally see, like, okay, when you turn this way, you blocked all this out and you created this whole new destiny just by making that one decision, that one choice, you know? It'd be so cool to have like an actual hindsight idea of what it means to decide from your intuition, you know? Because it's probably like catastrophic, but we just kind of like not as far-minded, you know, to like have that perspective. But like, yeah, that is interesting. And it's also interesting how regardless, you're going to create your reality, you know?
Yeah.
Like, happening regardless, you know? That's
Yeah.
super interesting.
No, I love that. And I think that that's really interesting what you said about kind of having like a bird's eye view type thing that you were saying. I think so everybody's intuitive, everybody, but not everybody has the same clairs, meaning not everybody can, like I'm clairvoyant and clairaudient, meaning I see visions and hear visions for the listeners, but so everybody's intuitive, but not everybody has the same clair. So there's clairvoyance, meaning you can see things, clairaudience, meaning you can hear things, clairsentience and cognizance, meaning that you can feel things and know things. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because when you learn to develop those clairs stronger, you can actually see things from a bird's eye view. It's called astral. I don't know if you've ever done astral projection, but you can see things. Yeah, you have?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? And then you can see things from a bird's eye view in astral projection, actually. I mean, depending on what dimension you're going to or where you're traveling to and things of that nature and how developed your clairs are. But that does kind of give you more of a bird's eye view as well. But I love your perspective on that. That's amazing.
Oh, that's cool. That makes me want to look more into astral projection because I read some stuff on it and I was looking more into the dream aspect of it.
Yeah.
There's so many different sources. It was kind of hard to like actually get a perspective, my own opinion of what it is, but yeah.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so what does not trying look like for you? You know, like where's the moment where you cognitively like understood that, okay, not trying is like the thing that I should probably like align with, you know?
It's a really great question. I think, and do you mean not trying in regard to work or just regard to life in general?
It's so vague, but I feel like just life in general, like, and I'm sure it's a very blurry line because that's kind of hard for me to even, you know.
Right.
But yeah.
It's a really good question. I think for me, I found from my own lived experiences that the more I try with things sometimes and the more that I really, really think into it, I tend to overanalyze it. And then I overthink it so much to where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this or I can't do that. And da, 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 da. And, you know, for the listeners, that's a very valid thought process to have. I think a lot of us do that, not everybody, but so for me, I really just listen to my intuition with every single thing that I do. Like even when you reached out to me asking, hey, would you like to be a guest on this? And I immediately asked my intuition and, you know, my clairvoyant said, yes, absolutely. But, you know, yeah, I love your energy. You're such a bright, happy soul. I love it. But, you know, if something's not right for me, my clairvoyance will say, no, absolutely. Like, no way. So for me, I don't really try. I don't know. I just listen to my intuition 24/7 because honestly, our intuition has the answers. It's there for a reason. I think society conditions us not to trust our intuition and to not believe in our intuition by, you know, telling us we need to rely on medications and telling us we need to rely on XYZ. And we really don't. Like we have the power within ourselves. And again, our intuition is there for a reason. So just trust in it and believe in it. And I think a lot of people, women especially, are so scared to listen to their intuition because When we as women especially, usually if we trust our intuition, we get told that, and usually it's men that will label us this way, not all, but many, they'll usually say, oh, you're crazy, or you're this, or you're that. And I've heard this from so many clients, and it's disheartening because it's teaching people not to trust their intuition. But I feel like women especially teaches women not to, and society does that as well, especially the entire patriarchal system that our society is run off of. It really conditions us not to trust it. Because I know for me, even really, when I first started my business, everyone was like, you're insane. Why would you leave your government job to do this? And I was just like, I just know it's right. I feel that it's right. So for me, I don't feel that I try really. I just feel that I trust and follow my intuition. And I like to be in like flow mode or create mode, if that makes sense, where I just listen to whatever feels right. And if something doesn't feel right, I set a boundary and I don't do it. I think in the past, when something didn't feel right, I would do it though, which was really difficult for me to say no to people at first, because I was so scared to say no to people back then. But now I've learned, my intuition's there for a reason. I'm going to trust it. I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to follow it. And if something's not meant to be, then it's not meant to be. And then, that will kind of just help you stay in a flow state where you don't really have to feel like you're constantly pushing and trying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And like, what do you think the relationship is between attachment and letting go, and not trying? You know what I mean? Because I feel like it feels like when you have a tight grasp on nature, everything outside of you, it's like you cannot control nature. You can't control it, and and it will present itself to you in whichever way, but then when you're forced to let go and be alone and like walk the walk every day, then that's it feels like. So is this like everyday work? Is reality everyday work? Like, is the reality like our universe comprises of us alone, a one person thing, like it just seems like maybe there's something to that. It feels like
something to our universe being of one, you said?
I'm sorry, no, like that as well, but just like just attachment and letting go.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, no, I totally agree, because I think a lot of times too, I think nowadays in society, people are understanding attachment and how it works nowadays. Whereas I feel like it wasn't really talked about, like even 5 years ago. But nowadays people understand like attachment is really suffering, and attachment is usually not a healthy thing. Because it usually means that you're either trauma bonded to something or someone, or you're codependent on something or someone. And I see this a lot in my readings. I've lived through it myself. Attachment really just never serves our highest good at all, from my own personal experience, from what I've seen. But I think letting go, it just helps us realize we need to keep elevating and rising to a higher dimension or higher frequency that's for our highest good and where we're meant to be, if that makes sense. I hope that made sense when I described that.
No, that makes perfect sense. I just think that it's just really interesting, because like the things that you could be attached to may very well like not disappear. You know what I mean? Like they're still here. Like it's even when you come to like a realization, nothing has changed. Everything was already happening. You just see it now, So like, yeah.
I love your perspective on all of this.
Really?
I could talk to you for hours. I could literally talk to you for like 4 hours about this.
Really?
You remind me so much of a friend that I have. Are you an Aquarius?
I'm a Taurus, but I have Aquarius. I know, yeah.
You what?
I have Aquarius in my chart though.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. One of my really good friends, she's an Aquarius, and her and I, we talk about stuff like this like every day, like all day long. Right? Yeah. So like, yeah, this is great. I love your perspective. So great. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
I have a question. Do you like utilize like affirmations and writing things out? Like, what are your things? Like, if you don't mind, sharing whatever. But because I've noticed that like I've definitely started to write things out in the day, or I just have like certain things like posted, like for the paragraph to be really big, and I think it's actually really helped. It's really cool. Do you have anything that you do, like,
I do. So I used to write things out more. I've honestly kind of fallen off with that. I need to kind of be more consistent. But honestly, I think it's because I found, and writing things out is so great for manifestation. Though I do a lot during full moons. So, we had a full moon. When was it? Sunday, Monday? Yeah, the blue moon. So that was a very, very powerful moon. I'm sure you felt that. I'm sure we all have collectively. But for me, what I do now is I actually do a lot of somatic type work now. So that's really regulating my nervous system, because I think for people like us who are empaths, we absorb energy from everyone and we're highly intuitive. We need to be very cognizant that we're protecting our energy at all times, right? So for me, in that we're regulating our nervous systems as well. So that way we're not ending up in, anxiety attacks or panic attacks, because I used to suffer from a lot of that stuff. So I do write stuff down, not as frequently as I used to, because now what I do more so is I do a lot of somatic stuff. So I'll do somatic meditations, which for the listeners, you guys can YouTube it. And somatic basically just means getting more in touch with your soma, which is the body. Because again, trauma disconnects you from your body, right? So for me, I do this thing every morning now as soon as I wake up. And what I do is I jump and I shake my arms and my legs, and I jump and I scream. And what it does is it releases any and all like blockages, or any and all emotions that are stored subconsciously, because trauma stores itself in your nervous system. And a lot of times we'll think like, oh, it's, I'm over that situation, da, 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 da. But if it's still stored in your body and still stored in your nervous system, then it's going to eventually manifest itself as dis-ease. So what I do every morning is I get up, as soon as I wake up, I jump and I shake my arms, my legs, and I jump up and down and I scream. So I release, I'm releasing. And then it's so great. You should try it. It's really good for releasing anger too, which anger I think can be helpfully channeled, but that's a different conversation. But, and then once I finish that, I meditate. And I say I'm safe within my body. And then I say I'm worthy of receiving abundance, love, prosperity. And then I talk to my guides and who I pray to every day. And I say, please bring me loyal clients and please bring me paying clients. And that's basically what I do. So I don't write as much as I used to. I more so just do that every day now. So
I love that. I've never even heard of that. Like jumping in, that makes so much sense though. But I'm literally going to try that. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely try it. It's really good for releasing any stored emotions, especially anger. Because for me, I didn't realize how much anger I had been storing just in my body, just from, past traumas I've been through. I was like, oh, I worked through that. And no, I hadn't. So it's really, really helpful. Try it. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I will. That's so awesome. And like, yeah, I feel like that is definitely a thing. Just what is it? I want to say like aggression, but the inner aggression, what's the word? Like self-aggression. I can't remember the other one before the aggression, but having like being aggressive on the inside is what I'm basically saying. That's like definitely a thing for like lots, if not everyone, time, just having the aggression like inside of you. So that's really cool.
Definitely.
Get it out.
Yeah. It's a very real thing. Yeah. And I think society conditions us into believing that we need to repress our anger and that releasing anger is a bad thing. And I don't agree with that at all. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think, I think beating someone up is wrong, obviously, stuff like that. Violence is never right. But I think releasing anger in a healthy way, like through somatic or through yoga or something, or through, writing it out affirmations, I think is really healthy. So, yeah.
And like, I heard you talking about like the throat chakra, and I just feel like for me, like personally, I feel like my throat has definitely been blocked like my whole life. Like, and so
Mhm.
yeah, that was just really cool. Like when did you start to even like when did that even start to be in your mind? Like, oh, like my throat, you know, like that's just awesome.
When I was going through all the mold stuff, and I was just bedridden for a few months before I had started my business and after I left my government job. I was really into Reiki at that time. So I'm not Reiki certified. I'm sure you're familiar with Reiki, yeah?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm not certified in Reiki, but I have had it done a lot. And basically a lot of the work that my Reiki girl would do on me, she would open my chakras a lot, and then that's when I could start to feel like what blockages were there more. But also too, I think just getting more in touch with myself too was when I could feel it more. So when I was, you know, again, just very isolated and I had nothing to distract me, I started to feel things on the deepest level possible. So anytime that I would lie to someone, I couldn't lie to people anymore because then I could feel it in my throat chakra. Like my throat would burn if I told a lie. So yeah, so I can't lie at all because it burns. Or if somebody's lying to me, I instantly feel it in my throat chakra. If someone's lying directly to my face, I'll feel it instantly. And I'm like, that's a lie.
You're,
So
you're so powerful. Like wow.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So are you though. You're so powerful. We just have to realize how powerful we truly are because honestly, I think and what you said about how your throat's been blocked your whole life, that's a really common thing I see with women because my 99% of my client base is women. And I think we as women in society, we are conditioned and told to believe that we shouldn't speak up because if we speak up, we're viewed as like, you know, too aggressive or too, and that's just not true. And I'm so tired of that narrative. I think the older I've gotten, the more I realize like I'm so sick of that narrative. It's such a patriarchal, misogynistic narrative. I hate to say it, but it is. And it really is because then I always see in my readings, the most common blockages I see for my female clients, which is 99% of my client base, are throat blockages and sacral chakra blockages. And throat is so common because we're afraid to speak up a lot of times because then we're labeled as certain things. And I'm so against that narrative. I'm really over it. So I think, you know, I think times are changing. Clearly things are getting better with that a little bit now, but I think too, I think we as women just have to keep uplifting one another, and, you know, create safe spaces for each other to speak up and to speak up collectively. And so we can start to see less of those throat chakra blockages because a lot of times too, what I've seen is for my clients who have throat chakra blockages, usually if they don't work through that, it can manifest itself as thyroid issues or just, you know, strep throat a lot, chronic infections. It can manifest itself as a lot of different things sometimes. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. It's sad that
Yeah.
that woman, like that majority of women's throats are blocked. It's really sad.
Mhm.
It's
It
like,
is.
it's like, yeah, it's kind of like beautiful that like the conversation is being had now, you know? Because like
Mhm.
I just feel like I can only imagine like all of our ancestors that just went through so much probably, you know? And there was like, there was
Mhm.
there wasn't anything. And that just seems like a nightmare, honestly.
It really does, because our ancestors had to endure way worse trauma than we are nowadays, because they really couldn't speak up back then, you know? So a lot of us were carrying that ancestral trauma through our lineages too. So yeah, I think that's really profound what you just said. Yeah.
Yeah, ancestral trauma, that is something that's,
That's a very real thing. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't like, that is not even it is spoken about in different regards
Mhm.
with heavier subjects and things like that, but like the actual concept of that, you know, like which
Mhm.
it makes a lot of sense that like today being alive and with the lineage that we have, that there would be like the energy would be traveling with us, you know what I mean? And that like that just makes a lot of sense, but that's just not talked about at all. Yeah. And like
It's really not.
people are like for sure, like it's kind of hard to like explain because it's like business that is way above you because this is our life right now, and you know what I mean, but you can like feel it. Like I feel like especially at the beginning of COVID, like I felt like some things that I was working through too were like not necessarily mine, but like in the lineage, you know. And it feels like you can see it, you know, depending on your environment, you could even see traits of it with the people around you. You know,
Yep.
that's really interesting. Like that is like in real time, like, you know?
Yeah, and I love your self-awareness on this because a lot of people lack the self-awareness to even realize what you just said. So I think that's really, really profound what you just said because that's spot on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
There doesn't like much else that could be said about them.
That's a whole nother conversation
Yeah.
that we could have. There's a lot to be said about that, but I'm glad that you recognize this and that you've started to recognize what is your energy and to discern between what is your energy and what is, you know, the ancestral energy, because there's big difference between the two. But sometimes if we can't discern between the two, we'll take on the ancestral energy thinking it's ours, and then we'll get guilt trip ourselves and be like, what's wrong with me? And it's not us, it's the ancestral energy that we're carrying. So
yeah. And also like that just made me think about something. Realizing what's yours and what's not yours. Like what's your journey with that? Just that concept, you know? Like I'm like learning it, realizing it now, you know, but
that's a really good question. I've actually never been asked that ever in my entire life, which is really interesting. I'm surprised I haven't been asked that, but that's a great question. Thank you for asking. What's mine and what's not mine? Really, so obviously, like after I finish a reading, and if I feel like sick after a reading, then obviously I know that that's not mine. But a lot of times too, for instance, and for the listeners too, I think, you know, if you are in a great mood that day and you walk into like a Target and you come out of Target feeling drained and you come out of Target feeling like complete crap, then obviously that's not yours. So just really having the self-awareness, just, you know, being aware of your surroundings, just being aware of your energy at all times and saying, oh, I feel really good right now, but after I hang out with that friend, I feel really drained. Or, hey, after I text that person or scroll on social media for 2 hours, I feel really drained. And then that's when we can take a step back and say, okay, well, what do I need to subtract and what do I need to add? Because I think a lot of times too, people assume that spirituality, and generally speaking, sometimes too, is an additive process. They assume that, but it's actually a subtractive process, because it's actually a matter of what can I take out of my life to get me closer to myself? Who can I cut out? And I mean this with all due love and respect. You know, whose energy is not mine, or who's draining me, who's toxic? What can I cut out to get closer to myself? What toxic foods can I cut out to get closer to myself? What toxic habits can I cut out to get closer to myself? And the more that you can kind of get in the habit of that, and find the discipline to do that, then the closer you can get to yourself, and the closer you can get to realizing, oh, hey, that wasn't my energy to begin with. That's not mine, you know? So I hope that makes sense.
that does make sense. That makes like complete sense. It feels like it feels like the moment that you realize that you're not connected to your body is the moment that you realize that you are not your body. And like is the moment that you realize like that the body is like the house. It feels like it's like the original house, you know?
It really is, yeah.
Kind of makes like your hair like on your arm. Yeah, weird to say it.
Chills over here.
It's weird to say it like that, like, you know, like, but like
yeah.
The body is the one. It's like the home, and it feels like we have That's why we have so many houses, you know, because like they just
Yeah.
kind of manifested what's already happening outside of us. It feels like, because like otherwise, like yeah, I was thinking about this the other day with my and we were talking about how like ants, and there's just so many ants, and like, is there more ants than humans? Like I don't, but it feels like it's pretty close. But they're everywhere, and like they don't have like it doesn't seem to have like lots of homes and they're all living in them, you know? And it's just like, wow, if we were not inside of the physical homes, we would all be outside like the ants. And it's just cool to think about it like that, you know?
That's awesome. And also too, think about it. Ants build their own home because they'll build like those little mound things that they go in, you know? Yeah. So they create their own too. But honestly, that's a really great perspective, or a great thing just to like think about, because are there more ants than humans? Maybe. You know, I mean, you know, because every time you see an ant, you don't really see an ant. You usually see them in like those big groups, you know? And think about how many there are of that, but also too, they always find a way to feel safe wherever they're at, and they travel in groups and build their own homes. So it's interesting. Yeah, I love that.
It's interesting actually.
Yeah.
Do you think that like, do you think that it serves us to like to kind of like live in the mentality, the space of like the original times? Or do you think that because like think about like the Amish, you know, like
Yeah.
they have stuck to their customs. The world is still going and they are doing what they want and they're staying the same. Yeah. Oh man, I think I just almost forgot my thought, but
No, you're fine.
I was going with that, but yeah, I kind of forgot. Wow. Do you remember anything I was saying?
You were saying something along the lines of living in original times. I think what you were trying to say was original times back then versus how we're living today, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, I think that was it too, but I kind of forgot. I'm not going to lie.
No worries. That's what happens when we're like, honestly, I'm not even kidding. When you talk to somebody that you're on like the same frequency with, like you and I, sometimes you'll start to channel energy subconsciously without realizing it during the conversation. And then you can kind of lose track of what you're saying, because we're like, right now we're talking in 3D, right? But we're actually channeling energy too between you and I without realizing it. So sometimes you can forget what you say because of that. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
So I forget that like we are communicating outside of the 3D, you know? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is so wild to think about. Yeah, it's like a radio, like how would that be a good example of it? Like us just being radios, kind of antennas or something.
I think so, yeah, in a sense. I mean, I think the radio would be a really good example for telepathic communication. And then, yeah, I think it would be a good example for this too, in a sense, because really, if you think about it, it's, you know, you're tuning in with that person, and it's kind of like you're changing stations in a sense, you're changing vibrations. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've been like, just to be transparent, I've been liking the idea of not having like a mechanical podcast, you know, and like it's the idea of like having the same things to say that is scripted. It's so hard for me to like do that well. So
right.
Of just like having the conversation and like letting it go where it goes, but sometimes within it, like I just tend to forget things. I just wanted to tell you that and to say thank you.
No, I actually love this. I like this format better, to be honest. I'm a very go with the flow person. Yeah. And this is how I structure my readings. Actually, my readings are very go with the flow. Like I always say, whatever comes through is meant to come through. So I think you are trying to structure your podcast similarly, concept wise. So I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's like I just love the idea of like, it just seem so cool to like capture on camera the synchronicities of being, you know?
Yeah.
I just love that idea, like just to have a collection of content that is like completely like authentic to nature, it feels like, you know?
Yes, I love that too, because a lot of times on a lot of podcasts, you'll hear them asking questions, but you can tell that they're questions that have been asked before, or you can just sense from like the energy, the tone in which they're asking it, that it's, you know, it's just something that's probably been asked before. So yeah.
Yeah. And that's just like, yeah, that's actually interesting. Like that, like it feels like there's an art to like to talking to people.
There really is. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've seen like a lot of like just different things of people that are like, you know, in the limelight, and them saying like how they hate to go to interviews and everything, because like,
Really?
yeah, because it's just like so repetitive, and
Yeah, usually.
yeah, usually, and they're not even talking about like what they actually love to do and stuff like that, you know? And so like just like talking about this is making me think like the trajectory of like communication is definitely changing, like, you know, it seems like,
Mhm.
yeah, it has to
Which
be.
is great. Yeah, I think it's great. It's changing, or slowly, because I do agree with, you know, I can only imagine how like celebrities feel, like you were saying, like who have to constantly do interviews because they are asked the same questions a lot. I can imagine. And even like for me, like I'm extremely grateful for all the podcasts I've been interviewed on and stuff. I love it. But I have been asked a lot of the same questions on those podcasts. So it was just a matter of like repeating the story, and you just basically have to get really good at like repeating your story a lot. So I just got used to it, because I was just like, I'm just grateful for the experience. But yeah, I can only imagine how people, you know, who are in the limelight, like you said, how they feel, because it's a lot of redundancy. So yeah.
Yeah. And like yeah, it just like it I feel like the more conversations that I have, like this is only my third podcast, but like I'm just like, just it seems like it's true. It's like these are like all like stepping stones, you know, like you got this version of the idea, and like, and then like the next version is like, now we've got podcasts, you know, and there's like YouTube, and it's just, it's really cool. Do you think that this is like the effect of the universe getting smarter?
The communication, you mean?
Yeah, just like this kind of it feels like it's just more, everything is a bit more aware. It feels like it's something like something is happening, it feels, you know?
Oh, definitely, for sure. That's a great question, because we're shifting timelines right now. We're shifting to a higher level of consciousness and a higher frequency. So we're shifting from 3D reality to 5D and above. And for the listeners who don't know what that means, it's just, so I think when a lot of times when people hear like 3D versus 5D, they think it's like, oh, how do I do that? But it's really just a shift in consciousness. So it's a shift from, you know, how the world's been operating the whole time to operating how it's slowly changing into right now, like more authentic communication, or actually caring about people, more empathy for people, and really having these like really personal, heartfelt conversations one-on-one, and really connecting with people and connecting to our own intuition as well. So yeah, I do think society is getting smarter and just more awake and more conscious. So I think it's a great thing, honestly.
Yeah, it's just it's a really cool concept. Like it can feel like your individual experience is literally yours, you know, but everyone is literally going through, if you're acknowledging what's happening right now, going through some form of transformation, and it's like we are all going through it, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like we all like mostly connected, you know, it feels like, for sure, you know. What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
What do I think about everyone being connected?
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
I have to say, so everybody is connected. Everything is energy, like I was saying earlier, and we are all connected. But I think, honestly, I just feel collectively right now, what's happening in the world is that people are trying to, so obviously we're shifting into a higher level of consciousness, right? We cannot deny that. Like we all feel it, regardless of how intuitive we are or not, which everybody is, but I think some people try to repress it, which isn't really their fault. It's usually due to societal conditioning. which also too, side note, I always say getting in tune with your intuition is a concept of deconstructing societal beliefs as well. But yeah, we are all very, very connected. And I think a lot of people right now are trying to just deny that something's happening, that a shift is happening. And they're trying to deny their own intuition because they don't want to elevate to, or they don't want to, elevate or transcend, I guess you could say, to a higher level of consciousness. But it's going to happen regardless. So yeah, I think it's a matter of really just having more conversations like this and letting people know it's okay and it's safe to feel connected. I think a lot too, a lot of millennials, because I'm a millennial, I think a lot of us, not me specifically, but a lot of people in my age bracket are almost scared in a sense to feel connection. But I think it's because of how we were raised. Our parents weren't as aware or as conscious as the parents are nowadays. Therapy was very like a shameful type thing. Growing up for me, I remember I went to therapy. I started going when I was 19, 20, and people made fun of me for it. Whereas nowadays it's very accepted and it's, so I think all of us being connected, whether that's energetically or physically, whatever the case may be, it's just a matter of having people know that that's okay to feel connected and that it's safe to feel connected, so we can all transcend and shift this timeline together, because we all feel what's going on right now. Like we all feel that something bigger is coming. We all feel it, even if we're in, and again, I truly believe a lot of people are in denial of it, but we all feel it. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. And like, what do you, so in order for someone to like see that there is some sort of connection happening, what do you think the relationship with the external and internal looks like in the most grounded reality that we can imagine? Like it feels like what we've been raised on and what society and everything, the relationship between like going outside of your house and seeing people and talking, and then being inside, like that, the external and internal, like what is that if it's all connected? What do you think that is? Because I think people are scared because they don't know how to make sense of their reality,
It's a really great question. Really, really great question. I could actually go in deep down the rabbit hole with this if we had enough time. But really, I think that's a matter of, so when when you're in your house and you feel comfortable and you feel more connected to people, that's because you're in your own space. But when you're outside of your house, you're picking up energy from everyone. And especially for people like us who are sensitive to energy, we're like sponges. We absorb energy from everyone and everything. So we have to be very cognizant of that and be very aware of our own energy and, how to protect our energy, ground our energy, and disconnect from toxic people's energy, or toxic energy in general, shall I say. But I think also too, I think there's a huge disconnect between social media and real life. I think that plays a really significant role in it as well, because people pretend to be one thing on social media and they're like totally different in person. I'm exactly who I am in person as I am on social media. There are a lot of people who are, but the majority, I would say, like, aren't. And I think that's causing a lot of that divide that we see between like, oh, well, we feel one way like this when we're alone, but then out in public we feel different, or like people act one way on social media but act totally different in person. And it's kind of like that thing of when, like, if you see someone on social media who claims to be like, or seems very open on social media and very empathic, I guess you could say, and then you meet them in person and they're very opposite of that. That's kind of what I think of when I think of like, being comfortable in your own house and then going out in public, and it's like very different, if that makes sense. And I think social media has played a big role in that, to be honest, because it's connected us. That's how you and I connected. It's connected us in a great way. I'm extremely grateful for social media. Help me build and grow my business, but at the same time too, it's also disconnected us. So I think social media plays a pretty large role in that.
You think Do you think because it seems more interesting than real life? You know, it just
Yeah,
yeah,
because it's like an escape.
that's the so it just feels like you're either escaping reality or you're facing yourself.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I think that's very well said, because I think that's very, very accurate. Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Escaping reality like that's intense. But that yeah, that's interesting. Oh, this is a really good conversation. It really has me thinking.
Yeah, it got really deep. I like it.
Wow. Um, I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to ask you another question, but I just have to allow it to come to me. um, wow. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry at all. No worries at all.
um, so talk to me about do you think how do you think the impact of you working like in retail, like what has that done for today, like Kelsey right now, you know?
Honestly, I worked in retail for quite some time. That was before I went to college and undergrad when I was 23. I started undergrad late at 23 because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life back then.
Mhm.
And honestly, I gained more experience working retail than I did working in any corporate America job.
Really?
And then, yeah, 100%, because I was also a store manager at Michael Kors, or the assistant manager, I'm sorry, back in 2000, that was a long time ago, 2009, 10, 11, 12.
That's
And I'm sorry, what?
I said that's really cool.
Yeah, and I learned a lot from that job. And honestly, everything I learned from that job, I've now used in my business today,
Wow.
with how to get clients and how to interact with them. And the only thing I really learned from working in corporate America, because I did work in corporate America for quite some time too, and I worked for the government too during college and after college, but the only thing I learned from working jobs like that was just how to type up professional emails, but that was about it. But that really, I'm
No way.
not kidding. I really didn't learn anything else from working those jobs. I really didn't.
Wow.
But I honestly, I gained the most invaluable knowledge working retail because it really teaches you resiliency, and especially being a manager of a retail store, it teaches you how to, deal with people, how to handle people, how to set boundaries. So yeah, really everything I learned in those jobs I took with me and I use it in my business today. And I would say the most important thing I learned was, because that was back before Instagram came out when I worked there. That was a long time ago. I'm older than people realize. Showing my age here. But anyway, they would make us do networking. They would make us go from stores. So I was a manager and we would like shift, we would have different days of the week where each manager would go to like different stores. I worked in an outlet mall, in the outlet mall and network. And what we would do is we would either go into like a store and try to like ask the associate all these questions to try and see if they were good at their job, to see if we could recruit them to work for us, or we would just connect with people who work there and hand out our business cards. And it taught me how to network. So that was how I learned how to network. So now what I do, like when I'm reaching out to people on Instagram, I just send voice clips because, I learned how to network the real way and the hard way back then. So without social media, so I have no problem like speaking to people over voice clips. And I'm very, I hate texting. I literally can't stand it. I love doing voice clips and I love, talking because that's how I learned how to do it back then. But yeah, I learned how to network through that, and that really helps me in my business a lot. So I learned a lot of great things from working retail.
I literally cannot imagine because like first of all, I have so much respect for you for being a manager. Like
oh yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, because like I worked at Hollister for not that long. It's like a year and a half. But being in the retail, like in the clothing retail, like yeah, no, it is work. Like it is
Oh yeah.
work. Like seriously. So that's amazing. That is so awesome. I think it's so cool how
Hello?
hello.
Hey, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Yeah,
perfect.
my AirPods in. You look so cute. I love your hair. Wait, hold on one second. I'm trying to make this. I have my MacBook today, so that way I don't have to deal with what happened last week. So thank you so much for your patience. I had to come to. I didn't realize how toned your arms are. You look so. Oh my gosh! I'm like,
Thank you.
I had to come to my library, as you can see behind me, because they're doing construction outside my apartment. Yeah, I DM'd you on Instagram because I realized I forgot to save your number, and I was like, I don't think she checks her DMs. So this probably wasn't a good idea. I ran into a neighbor on the way here. We talked for like 20 minutes, and I was like, all right, gotta go. So I'm so sorry. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm excited that we get to wrap this up, like I love that.
Letting me wrap it up because my phone, it was so embarrassing last week. So I rushed to my office last week, didn't have my Mac on me, didn't have my charger, nothing. My phone died. So I was like,
Oh my gosh.
I think she probably thinks I like hung up or something or like just left the call. So thank you for allowing me to finish it because I felt really bad because I was like, this is awkward. So she probably thinks I just like hopped off the Zoom, and no, that wasn't the case. Yeah. And then I had to run on my next reading. So then I had to run into my car, grab my charger, start meditating, get my phone turned back on, gone in that reading. And then I emailed you back and was like, my phone died. So yeah, doing on my Mac today because my phone never keeps a charge. So thank you for your patience though.
Yeah, and thank you for even fitting me in your schedule. Obviously, it's very busy. So the fact that you fit me in, I'm just grateful. And
Thank you.
yeah, and I watched the conversation and it was so good. And I just wanted to say thank you for being so vulnerable, like and just being really like open. It was an awesome conversation. Like so yeah. And like how's your day going? You having a good day?
Yeah, I am actually. Mondays are my days off. Well, days off from readings at least. With school, it's not, but that doesn't start back till like mid-October. So yeah, I actually did yoga this morning and we had a big breakfast and that was about it. So, but yeah, thank you for allowing me to finish this honestly, and thank you just for being so incredibly kind regarding like all of this. You've been so amazing, honestly. You look so cute today. I love like your
yeah.
hair. You look adorable.
Yeah, I literally just twisted my hair right before I came on. So thank you.
You twisted it right before you came on?
Yeah, it's literally.
Oh my God. Thank you for your patience. I truly appreciate you for being so kind. So awesome. So incredibly kind. So yeah.
we're gonna wrap this up the right way.
Yes, we're gonna wrap it up the right way because my phone died and my dumbass did not bring my charger. So yeah. But today we're all good. We're at 63% and I'm on my Mac. So yeah.
Okay, so on that note, I'm so grateful for you and just the conversation and the fact that you said yes. And yeah, I'm just really appreciative, just for you holding space for me, because you don't know me at all and I don't know you, but it's just really special to like still connect,
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I have a lot of empathy for people in general and just a lot of respect for anybody who is really doing a podcast or any business of that sort, because I've been interviewed on so many different podcasts. I've seen how much work goes into them. And I don't think like the average person realizes like how much work actually goes into like making a podcast episode. It's a lot of work. So I have a lot of respect for that and I honor that honestly. And I think holding space is important in general because I think right now more than ever, I think we all need that. I think everybody, we just need more connection collectively. And to hold space for each other more collectively right now because there's so many polarities right now. Holding space for people makes people feel safe. It makes people feel understood, and I think we need more of that. So yeah, try to set an example.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, thank you. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Oh wait. Oh, okay. Are we finished?
Yeah, we could be finished.
No, I just wanted to make sure. I felt like I didn't say enough. I was like, wait, I feel like I didn't end on the right note.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually really funny because it's funny to start off the video with an ending, basically, you know? It feels like we should be doing more, but we have so much footage. Just so like
Yeah, we do. Yeah, yeah. The one you sent me from last week was like what, an hour or like a little over an hour, I think.
Yeah, an hour and like 10, I think, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, wow, this is really long, but it was actually really good. But then I was looking at myself in the video and I was like, wow, I'm bad idea to show up with no makeup on. I looked really like
oh no, that
my eyes look like
maybe that was just your perspective. To me, in my eyes, you looked beautiful. But I understand though. That's how it be when you're inside. You're like, I look crazy.
Yeah, when you watch yourself, well, usually every time I do any type of like video recording, I always like have on makeup or whatever. So I think that was the first time I've ever done like a Zoom video recording without makeup. And which I know isn't like a huge deal, but I guess for me it is, just because I've always been like, I've been more like insecure about myself, about how I look without makeup, and I've learned to come to terms with it more and just love myself for who I am, you know? But when I was watching that, I was like, oh, my eyes look real tired.
No, yeah, and that's understandable, and that's actually really cool. That's something actually that I've been thinking about, is like, how do I want to present myself, you know, to the world, basically, is what this is. So I like the idea of just being myself, you know, because that'll probably carry us way farther, as opposed to like to play a role or something, you know.
Yeah, and one thing I think I've realized and that I found is that the more that you can show up authentically as yourself and just for who you are, the more people will appreciate and respect that, you know?
Yeah, and that makes me feel so much better. Like the other scenarios give me so much anxiety. So I'm like, I just want to make sure that I'm being myself at the end of the day. So I understand, you know?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that gives me a lot of anxiety too, because then you feel like you have to look perfect and da da. And honestly, that's like, it's just a societal construct. The whole feeling of like feeling we have to like be perfect or look perfect, because perfect doesn't exist, and we're all beautiful in our own way. So.
Yeah, literally. And that is something, like, this is actually good. That's something that I don't know if you can completely like help the narrative that's like that people can have of you once you put yourself out. But yeah, like that's why I like the idea of claiming how I feel and everything in the moment, in the present, because when you go up or when you go down, it feels like the people go up or down with you, you know? If you go up with them or you go down with them, and you lose yourself in between. So if I can just stay like this and be myself, and no matter if it's like praise or if it's hate, it doesn't matter, because I'm just myself regardless, you know? That's like the perfect scenario.
Yeah, and I love that about you, because you have like this very beautiful, calm, grounded energy about you, where you're just like a bright light, like a nice, calm, bright aura about you. So yeah, you have a very welcoming, warming presence.
Thank you. Wow, thank you so much, Kelsey. I really enjoyed it. I was like just like us talking, you know, but like the first time we ever talked about it. This is really awesome.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we did this. Honestly, thank you like for the opportunity. I don't know. Usually, I feel like when I do podcast interviews with people, it's either we don't really. I mean, we'll connect, but usually not super deep, or I just don't really hear from them again, type thing. You know, or I mean, unless they become a client, which most of them do. But yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation because it was so deep and it was just very authentic. Thank you.
I feel so good. This feels like a good ending, you know?
Yeah, it does, because it's very heartfelt and very like.
Yeah, a good wrap up. Okay, all right. So with that being said, I'm very appreciative of you and your time. Like, most importantly, your time. And I just hope that you have a good rest of your Monday with no work, and that you can enjoy your time and yourself. And yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm appreciative of your time, because I was late. So I'm actually appreciative of your time. But yeah, I'll talk to you. I actually need to text you, which I don't want to ask for your number over the video thing, or I need to go back in the email and find it. But so I have your number for. Yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you so much again.
Awesome. All right, bye, Kelsey.
All right, bye.
Bye.